So if you're tuning in today, that means you're interested in the Fulbright International Education Administrator programs. Today is going to be the general session going over the current opportunities we have for the 2022 to 2023 award cycle that we are currently recruiting for. My name is Sarah Causer. I'm an outreach and recruitment specialist. I've been with IIE for about 7 years, and I've worked about 5 to 6 of those years on this wonderful program. So I'm happy to be a resource for you all and help you out with any questions you might have. Throughout the duration of this presentation, please utilize the question and answer component. Most likely, I will hold all questions until the end. However, if something comes up that is relevant and I see it in time, I will try and address that as soon as possible. So diving quickly into the program, we do like to highlight the mission and history of the program itself. The history of the program is Fulbright was established in 1946 by Congress. It is the U.S. government's flagship international educational and cultural exchange program. And the program itself is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State with funding provided by the U.S. government. IIE, who I'm representing today, has the privilege of administering this program on behalf of the State Department. So that's a little bit about the administration side of things. In terms of the mission and what you can do with a Fulbright, the program itself offers partnerships with 160 countries worldwide for both scholars, academics, researchers, administrators, so on. But we have 2 distinct programs that IIE administers. One is the student program and the other is the scholar program. So the IEA takes place within that scholar realm. And for you all, it takes place within 7 countries, and it allows you the opportunity to participate in a small cohort-based seminar anywhere from a week and a half to 2 weeks. So that's really what we're focusing on. However, for this current cycle, we're really going to be focusing on 4 of those 7 countries because unfortunately 3 of the countries just are not recruiting this cycle, but I'll touch more on that in just a moment. The mission that you can see on this screen is to foster mutual understanding between nations, advance knowledge across communities, and improve lives around the world. And it's really important that you do focus on that mission as you are starting to craft an application for the IEAs or any Fulbright application, that really should be at the heart of the application and that you tie that in some form or fashion, because this is very important as to why you would be choosing to apply for a Fulbright award. So moving along, we also like to highlight at the beginning of all of our sessions our diversity and inclusion statement. This was crafted by the Department of State. It is important for all of us that not only are we reflecting and selecting, the best and brightest that the United States has to offer, but we also want to ensure that within that we are reflecting the diversity of the United States and all societies within it. So all 50 states, territories are all welcome to apply and be eligible for the Fulbright U.S. Scholar Program. And we'll touch a little bit more on eligibility in just a moment. In terms of Fulbright by the numbers, as I said before, you're interested in the IEAs, which makes up a component of this first bullet point here. So you're within those 900 U.S. scholars and administrators, but we award across Fulbright 8,000 awards annually. What's really interesting to me, and as you can see in the top corner of the screen, is we're celebrating our 75th year this year. And what's so fascinating is in the first year of Fulbright, they sent about 80 people annually, and now we're sending over 8,000. So it's a true testament to the growth and just uniqueness of this program and support that we have seen across the years. So we're very excited for you to be interested, especially in this 75th year. You can see a few other bullet points on the screen just to show you the true vastness of the program, that on the other side, we bring about 900 visiting scholars into the U.S. And then for students, so the students that you might be engaging with on campus, we send about 2,200 U.S. students abroad to conduct their own research, teach English as a second language, or enroll in a fully funded 1-year master's program. And then on the flip side of that, we bring about 4,000 foreign students into the United States, where they are predominantly obtaining either a master's or a PhD here in the U.S. And then we do have about 400 language teaching assistants, which I will touch on at the end of this session as just additional opportunities for you to consider for your institution. The last thing I really want to point out is the fact that in the 75 years of having Fulbright, we've awarded approximately over 400,000 Fulbrighters, and we're very excited that we're going to be surpassing that shortly. So keep an eye out, but we're just very excited that you are in good ranks and have a lot of resources at your disposal to engage with. In terms of distribution of opportunities for the 2022 to 2023, I always like to say we have about 413 opportunities for the IEAs this year. Just this year, there's 4 of them, and they make up about 4% of the overall opportunities out there within the catalog. This percent is usually a bit higher when we're awarding to 7 unique countries. But what I really want to highlight here is within these IEAs and with all the other awards, in a given cycle, you can only choose and apply to 1 award. So since we're recruiting for 4 of their countries, you do have to choose 1 in order to apply to in a cycle. So do keep that in mind. In terms of our seminar offerings, I have still listed all of the countries that we traditionally recruit for. You can see at the top, India, Taiwan, and Japan are not recruiting for 2022 to 2023. We hope to have them back in our ranks for the 23-24 cycle, which will open next February. But what I do want to highlight are the 4 that we are actively recruiting for this year. The first being Korea, which is, as you can see, for each one of these, they have professional profiles listed. I will dive in depth to each one of these momentarily, but I do want you to visualize when each of the deadlines are, when you would find out, and when the grants take place. So each of these countries, as I mentioned, is looking for a very unique profile. Again, I will dive into that momentarily. And as a whole, the Fulbright IEA seminars are intended to have broad personal and professional impacts on grantees. And from this experience, your home country campuses will actually also benefit from the increased knowledge of that host country's higher education system. This will help aid in the development of programs, international student advising, and broader global collaboration on your campus. Additionally, as a grantee, it will broaden your network with the possible partnerships and cooperations through the other Fulbright IEA grantees that you'd be traveling with. It's also very important for you to think about your application as it relates to your university. So this is not only a personal application, but you do want to think of it as a more broad application that aims to increase the institutional internationalization or globalization on your campus. It's, again, a wonderful opportunity. In our later webinars that are focused on each individual country, we will have alumni there that can attest to this wonderful opportunity experience and how it impacted them personally and their campuses professionally. I do have a question in the chat. Is the experienced administrator limited to higher ed, or can it be an early education administration? And let's see, can our connection to a university be through our membership in the lab of a university if we work with a school outside of that university? To answer the first part of that question, which is great, experienced administrators are not always limited to higher education in terms of university and college settings. In some of these cases, you can be affiliated with third-party providers who do provide these opportunities or work within the international education realm. Not every country is open to that, but you do not have to always be affiliated with a university or college to be eligible for these. If it's a connection through a membership, that may be eligible, but what I would ask you to do is reach out to me at iea@iie.org and provide me your resume and a little bit more background, and I would love to have a discussion with you on that. All right, so moving along in terms of the eligibility, that email address, I'm going to type in the answer to everyone so you all have it. There we go, is iea@iie.org. Thank you again for asking. So in terms of the eligibility for the program, as you can see on the screen, you must be a U.S. citizen in order to apply. However, what really sets this apart from the vast majority of our other awards is that PhD or terminal degree is not a requirement for this award. In terms of professional experiences and accomplishments, that will be appropriate based on which award you're applying to. So some of the awards, Taiwan and Germany, for instance, only require 3 years of experience, while the rest of the awards are looking for 5+ years of experience. So do keep that in mind. In terms of additional requirements, these will be set forth in the catalog awards, and I will show you where to look for those nuanced requirements as specified by each country. We do have a question of whether or not a retired administrator from a university is eligible to apply. You likely are not if you're not currently affiliated, again, with a university, a college, or an organization. However, again, please reach out to me and we can see if something could be applicable for you all. And then the other question is, does a coordinator count as an administrator? Yes, in most of these cases it does. There are a few awards that are really looking for senior level international officers and presidents and provosts, but again, I will touch on that shortly. Going back to the eligibility, in terms of the new policies, what I really want to emphasize here for these policies is you can apply and receive as many Fulbrights in your lifetime as you would like. However, there's a 2-year waiting period between grants, and we do have administrators who have applied and received 2 to 3 of the IEAs, and they have utilized the IEAs to really follow their career trajectory. So they would apply for Germany, which was, again, looking for 3 years of experience and more of that junior level. And then later in their career, they might come back for France or India, who's looking more for that senior level profile. So again, they've utilized what the IEAs are looking for to really mirror their growth and career trajectory. So what I'm going to spend the next couple minutes going through is the 4 awards that we're currently recruiting for. The first up is Korea. The Korean program will award up to 8 grantees this cycle, and it's a reciprocal exchange program in that while you will be participating as a cohort in Korea, there is actually a small group of international education administrators from Korea who do visit the United States each spring for about 3 weeks and conducting similar visits to what the setup for you looks like. So this is something that really sets this program apart. For you all, this award would take place for 2 weeks in June, where grantees will visit university international offices and you'll respond to questions about U.S. higher education. The first week on grant, you'll spend it in Seoul, and during the second week, you'll venture outside of that city to engage with other institutions and organizations. As I mentioned before, there's approximately 6 grants available, and it's for administrators who deal directly with students on a day-to-day basis and who are actively involved in promoting international education on campus, and you should have at least 5 years of full-time experience in international education. As an administrator, you can come from 2 or 4-year colleges or universities, and in this case, you can come from a nonprofit international education exchange organization. So to answer that earlier question, this is one of those awards that, again, you don't have to be affiliated at a college or university in order to apply. However, that being said, preference is given to applicants without significant professional visits to Korea in the past 5 years. Please keep in mind that this particular program is not a vehicle for initiating or developing United States institutional linkage programs or for student recruitment or even the establishment of branch campuses. So do keep that in mind. And the last thing that I do want to highlight about this award is that unfortunately, directors of English language programs and instructors of those programs are not eligible to apply for this particular award. You can see the tentative dates listed on each one of these subsequent pages I'm about to discuss. And in some cases, they might just say October of 2022. So do keep in mind, in some cases, the dates might not fully be finalized. However, we will provide updates as we do have those. For the next program that I want to discuss is our program to France. So for this program, participants will experience briefings, campus visits, appointments with select government officials, networking, and cultural activities, and will also participate in meetings with French international education professionals. The France IEA program is a little bit more unique than our other programs in that it is only a week and a half long, and it is really open to senior level university administrators. And what I mean by that is we're really looking for deans, vice presidents, provosts, and presidents, and they should have substantial responsibility for enhancing the international dimensions of their institutions. So while this may not be in line with what your background is, I highly encourage you to share this opportunity with your senior leadership and encourage them to apply for this opportunity. We're always looking to have more presidents and provosts participating in this program, and this is, again, a wonderful way to really open that door to creating more Fulbright-friendly policies on campus and encouraging more faculty and administrators and even students to participate. Please keep in mind for the France program, they are looking for applicants with a minimum of 5 years of full-time work experience within that field. And this program is open for about 12 grantees every year. The next program is our Germany IEA, and this one has two distinct parts. So during the first few days, you will be in Berlin, and as participants, you'll be provided with a comprehensive overview of Germany and its higher education system through presentations, meetings with experts, campus visits, and city tours. During the second part of the program, you will be divided into small subgroups, and you'll travel to other destinations throughout Germany to visit with further institutions of higher education and research universities. You may also engage with universities of applied sciences, secondary schools, and it does give you a vast overview to explore Germany's federalistic education system. As I mentioned earlier, the IEA to Germany has the broadest availability for applicants. This program is open to full-time administrators with a significant involvement in one of the following areas, and they're listed on the screen. The first being international exchanges. So you could be working with student or faculty exchanges, foreign student admissions and advising. You could work in the study abroad programs and offices, or with international education and exchange services. You might also be an administrator who has the substantial responsibility for enhancing the international dimensions of your institution and really developing those international program developments on campus. The other areas that you are eligible to come from are career services, alumni affairs, or development and fundraising. So again, this has the broadest opening in terms of eligibility. Do keep in mind that preference is given to applicants with 3 years of administrative experience, and they should have supervisory responsibilities and at least 1 year of experience at your current institution. And the reason being is they do believe you need to be at your current institution for a year to really have an understanding of what your institution's goals are and really bring that to the table on this program. So do keep that in mind. Additionally, as an applicant, you should not have extended professional visits to Germany in the past 10 years. So keep that in mind. And unfortunately, the last thing that I want to discuss here is that if you are a dual U.S.-German citizen, you unfortunately are not eligible to apply for this particular award. The last award that we're recruiting for in the 22-23 cycle is our Russia CCAS program. As you can tell by the title, this is our Community College Administrator Seminar in Russia. So it is a bit different. This program is open to community college administrators, which includes presidents, vice presidents, provosts, dean, and other individuals with institutional authority for program development and international outreach. Through the engagement with Russian educators at a variety of regional institutions, you as the applicant will discuss issues concerning the United States system of higher education. You'll also focus on the model and role of the community college within that system and within the local community. They're also hoping for you to share best practices within education administration, alternative pathways to higher education, and workforce training. So again, this is very different than the other IEAs that we are recruiting for. For the CCAS program, the overall objective is to prepare U.S. and Russian institutions to internationalize their campus, broaden the scope of their programs, and provide mobility opportunities. Keep in mind, as an applicant, you must have 5 years of experience in community college administration, and preferably you should be at the rank of dean or above. Applicants must demonstrate institutional authority for implementation of program development and internationalization initiatives, as well as other policies that enable faculty participation. Do keep in mind that individuals without prior professional connections to Russia or whose home institutions do not have established partnerships or affiliations with Russia institutions are highly encouraged to apply for this program. I have seen a few questions come in that I do want to address before I move on. One question is the minimum years of full-time work based at the time of application or the grant date? That is a great question that has come in. It is at the time of application that you do need to have those requirements. If you're on the cusp, you can reach out and we can talk to you on an individual basis, but that should be at the time of application. The next question that I received is, what if between now and June of 22, someone switches jobs, a different institution, but is still working within student services? Another great question. I don't have a very direct answer because it really does depend on your situation. However, if you do change institutions having applied, do let us know because we do need to follow up with the countries. In some cases, they likely will keep the award and just switch the institution that you're affiliated with. But as I said earlier, these applications, in addition to being individual, are institutionally driven. So reasons for selection could be based on your type of institution. So for the case of the Russia program, let's say you were at a community college and you applied and then you switched to a 4-year university. Likely you would have to turn down that award because that you were selected based on the fact you were at a community college. But again, if you do come into that situation, reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to help you out and find the correct answers as it pertains to you. But again, this is on an individual basis. The next question I have is, does foreign language teaching experience count as international education experience, or is it strictly referring to work with study abroad and international programming? Another great question. We are very much looking for that international programming and working within study abroad. So that foreign language teaching experience likely wouldn't count. That would count to your overall experience and your background and interest within this, but it wouldn't count to those years that they are looking for. Oh, and I have a question. Is there a typo? I believe this is reference to the CCS program. Should it be 2022? No. In the case of Russia, they really wanted, this was a result of COVID, they really wanted to build in pre-programming before going on the program. So Russia, in fact, is actually recruiting for 2023. That is not a typo, but thank you so much for asking that question. So with that, I know there's a few other questions, but I do want to get back to the meat of the presentation, but I will come and address the rest of these questions in just a little bit. So as I said earlier, in any traditional year, we have 7 unique IEAs. This year is 4. And I already addressed that you can only choose one in a cycle to apply to. So it's really important that you select the right award. And so you might wonder, how do I go about really determining which award to apply to? So on this slide, you can see some key questions that you can really think about. The first is, how has your campus been working to internationalize itself? Is there a particular country, that you are your institution is really hoping to increase cooperation with. That's the second bullet point. So is there a particular country that you are trying to get your foot in the door and really start developing programs and exchanges with? That might be a no-brainer that really tells you which country to apply to. The next topic that you might consider is, does your institution have goals to increase the number of students from one of these particular countries? Again, that might take you in a different route to determining which country makes the most sense. On a personal level, you'll think about your professional experience and whether or not you've had extensive professional experience in one of these countries. And then the last question to really address that really helps you determine which award to apply to is, what is your current professional profile? And go from there. As I mentioned before, a lot of our applicants have really utilized the IEAs to mirror their personal trajectory, career trajectory, and their growth at their institution or multiple institutions. And so that might be the best way for you to really build out your plan to say, this makes sense. I have 3 years of experience. I'm going to start here. But in a few years, I would love to apply for one of the awards that are looking for a senior international officer and 5 years of experience. So that's another way for you to really utilize these IEAs to match your current background. In terms of application resources, our website, we just revamped. It's a wonderful page that can really help you if you have any questions. We also have the catalog of awards for you to utilize. I will showcase each one of these at the very end of this session to walk you through it. But do keep in mind to utilize those resources really at your fingertips and disposal. Our application is live. It has instructions built in, but we've also developed an application guideline to mirror the application and let you know exactly what to touch on in each section. I believe the application guideline is going through final edits right now, but it should go live shortly. And I do promise to put all of these links on our website. And again, these PowerPoints will be made available on our website once this recording is archived. In terms of the webinars, as you can see, you're attending one right now. We will have upcoming webinars, and I do have a slide about that discusses each individual country we're currently recruiting for. And then I also encourage you to visit our blog to hear more about personal experiences from past alums. And then lastly, we have our My Fulbright, which allows you to register your interest in finding out more. So maybe you're not quite at that 3 years or 5 years of experience. Register your interest so you'll keep getting these updates at the start of every application cycle, so you don't forget, oh, right, I meant to look back into that and I've missed the deadline. We will do that for you. We will remind you, but it's up to you to register your interest. In terms of understanding the awards, as I said, I'll showcase the catalog as we're going through the Q&A, but each award will look similar to what you see on the screen. The URL is at the bottom if anyone wants to go and see what they're looking for, but you'll see 4 tabs at the top. The first being the award details really dives into exactly what I just told you all previously on these slides for each country overview. The second one being award requirements would dictate what kind of background you need. Again, we've gone into this. Nothing should be surprising. And the third talks about the stipend and benefits. Keep in mind, you will be provided round-trip airfare, and you will receive a daily stipend to cover food and local travel as required, but most likely all of your hotels and buses to get to and from locations will be provided as part of the seminar, and they book that in country themselves, so you don't have to worry about that. And then the last tab just goes over the country and area overview, should that be of interest to you as you're really trying to determine what country makes the most sense for me. In terms of the application components, as you can see on the screen, everyone will start an application online. Our application form is called Slate. That's where you'll put in your biographical data. And please, at the very beginning, at least go in and say which program you're trying to apply to. I get this question every year that people go, it's asking me for, my project statement and for my course syllabi. That those don't pertain to you. So it is important at the beginning. It will say which program. Do put that you're applying for the IEAs, because the back end of the application will morph to only ask you the required components for the IEAs. On that note, also put in the country you're applying for and the award number, because we want you to complete the relevant components for each award. So the other items that you will discuss is we now have, in lieu of a statement of intent, we have these 5 open-ended questions that range from your professional biography, why you selected this particular country, and your professional relevance, the outcomes and impact that your participation would have from this program, your personal qualities, and then the last open-ended question is any additional information you wish to disclose that you want the reviewers to know of your interest in this program. It's not a requirement to fill it out. It is simply there at your own discretion. Keep in mind that these 5 open-ended questions for your seminar details are your opportunity to explain your specific strengths as a candidate to the reviewers and potential hosts. It must be clear and compelling to audiences both inside and outside of your field. The next component that you will upload is your CV or resume, and you have up to 6 pages for this. Your CV and resume should be clearly organized and tailored to show how your credentials, your professional standings, and accomplishments relate to international education. It should include your employment history, listing all items chronologically, starting with the most recent. And everything I'm mentioning here is clearly depicted on our website and with font guidelines, size guidelines, margins, all of that. The next component that you will upload is your institutional statement. All applications do require this institutional statement, and it should address the following: general information about your home institution. What type of institution is it? Are you a community college, a minority serving institution? Are you a rural college? Are you a land grant institution? You'll also want to discuss the total enrollment on campus, including the number of degrees offered. Next, you'll want to discuss the number of international students on campus and where they're coming from, especially if they're coming from one of these 4 or 7 in a subsequent year countries. If you are applying in the future for either Japan or Korea, do note that you do have to include the number of Japanese or Korean students currently on your campus. So that is a requirement, and it does list this online. The next item you'll want to ensure is included in this institutional statement is a study abroad opportunities available on your campus. And then lastly, you'll want to discuss international partnerships that your institution has, especially within the country where the grant takes place, and also include any future goals or plans for internationalizing the campus. The last piece you will not upload. Instead, you'll actually enter your reference writer's information in the system. The system will actually send them a message with a link to a portal for them to upload your letters of reference. But it's required that you list 2 of these. Please do not list more unless maybe it's open, but only 2 can actually be reviewed. So if you do more than 2 and more than 2 people fill it out, we will come back to you and ask which one you would like us to remove from your application. Recommenders will evaluate your professional qualifications, the potential for your institutional impact, and your personal qualifications and qualities. So you might be wondering who can actually serve as these recommenders. One should come from your current supervisor or someone you report to at your current institution, and they should be familiar with your administrative skills and leadership success, while the second letter can come from any colleague who can speak to your personal attributes and interests in the international education realm. This can be from someone at your current campus or another institution entirely. Please keep in mind that unfortunately, representatives of the U.S. Embassy or Post or Fulbright Commission in the country of your application, representatives of the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs and the U.S. Department of State, or representatives of IIE unfortunately cannot serve as recommendation writers, so do keep that in mind. As I said earlier, you will register your recommenders in the system and they will receive an auto-generated message and portal to upload their letter of recommendation for you. Keep in mind that these letters can be submitted before you submit your application or after you submit your application. However, they do need to be in by the application deadline. And lastly, all of these recommendation letters need to be written in English. So previously on the last slide, I talked about in lieu of the statement of intent, we do have these 5 open-ended seminar detail questions. They're listed on this screen, what I've already told you, but with their character limit. I'm going to quickly dive into what we're looking for in each one. So with the first one being your professional biography, this should really highlight your educational background, your professional and administrative experience, your most significant professional accomplishments, and any key responsibilities within your current position. You can include information on your professional affiliations and memberships. You might also include community service, publications, honors and awards, or any other relevant information. The next topic that you'll address is why you've selected this particular country and the professional relevance. So you'll want to really address why you've chosen that particular IEA seminar country. You'll want to also describe your professional responsibilities as it relates to this particular grant. Please include any achievements in the development of international initiatives and or systems. You'll also want to include expertise that you can share with peers in that host country. Please also describe your experience within the country and include if you've visited this country previously and any other communications or interactions that you have previously had with the country, which could include setting up partnerships, cultural engagements, or experiences sending and receiving students. The next topic about your outcomes and impact is really for you to discuss how your participation in this IEA seminar will contribute to the international education goals of your institution. What is the anticipated impact your participation would have on your institution and community? Be specific as possible and consider outcomes with the potential to be broad and sustainable. I cannot underscore that enough, that you do want this to be broad and sustainable. You may also consider how you will share what you've learned with your home institution and others. If you're part of organizations or memberships, or you are part of a huge university system, consider sharing it with the other sister colleges and campuses, not just the one where you're primarily based. So do think about those resources at hand. You'll want to consider the anticipated impact your participation would have on your professional development and career as well. The last topic that is really defined is your personal qualities. This is for you to describe your ability to be adaptable, culturally sensitive, collegial, and how you may serve as a cultural ambassador for the U.S. And then, as I said before, we do have one last open-ended question. Is any additional information you wish to share? You have up to 500 characters. It is not a requirement to fill this out, but if there's anything else you want those reviewing your application to be aware of, please include it here. Examples I have seen past participants use is whether or not they made it through the first round of review previously, and this is maybe their second time applying. It is up to you what you wish to include here. As I said earlier, I was going to share the upcoming webinars. The next webinar that we have is in May. It will be the application walkthrough, where I will actually have the application live. I'll take you page by page what you can expect to engage with. And then after that, we will go into country overviews, and we will have alumni from the program that can talk about their experience. So you'll get a little bit about what I just did today, but the meat of these upcoming webinars are really for you to engage with alumni from the program. And you can see each one listed here. They usually take place anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks ahead of the application deadline. So we try and time that out as best possible, except for Russia. We just have that one phenomenally early because we're constantly trying to recruit community colleges for this program. And before I get to the Q&A, what I really just want to highlight are some other ways for your institution to engage. there are ways for your institution to apply, and I think this is really relevant to you all as administrators to think about how to bring these foreign voices to your campus. The first is our Scholar in Residence program. This is another of the awards that I administer, and we're currently recruiting U.S. institutions who are interested in hosting a scholar of their choosing on their campus for a semester or an academic year to teach. They can also help develop international relations and programs. They might even guest lecture. They could help in internationalizing the campus and the curriculum. So do keep in mind, this is again a wonderful opportunity. Reach out to me if you are interested. The next is the Fulbright Outreach Lecturing Fund. It's a little more short-term basis, but of any given time with those 900 visiting scholars that we have in the U.S., your institution can actually apply to host them short-term basis, 2 to 6 days on your campus. Currently, this is happening in a virtual capacity. However, we are looking forward to the day that we will be allowing these scholars to travel back to your campus. And keep in mind, the program does pay for their travel. And then the last one is our Fulbright Language Teaching Assistant Program through our foreign student program, actually. And this, again, allows your institution to really take this driver's seat and craft an application to bring a scholar from a young professional, I should say, from a language of your choosing to your campus to teach either for credit or not for credit. And it can be a language that your campus is already teaching or maybe one that you're looking to branch into. But I really see all three of these programs being very tangible ways for you to build off of your IEA opportunity. And then I do want to highlight our Alumni Ambassador Program. We just onboarded another 13 ambassadors this past semester, and 2 of those ambassadors are actually IEA alumni, which is why I left this slide in. I encourage you to reach out to them. I'm happy to provide you their contact details, but I know they're eagerly looking forward to talking about their experience and helping you along the way should you have any questions. And then this last slide is just for you to have awareness, because we do know you serve as such a critical role on campus. Do let other faculty know that there's a Fulbright for them. That's that first column. The second column, you engage with students, let them know as they're rising seniors, they too can apply for a Fulbright and funding. And then the last column really talks about our K through 12 opportunities for K through 12 teachers. So there's a Fulbright for everyone out there. You just have to find the right one. And we really do rely on word of mouth. So that's why we do leave this in. But with that, that is the whole slide deck that I have for you. I'm going to quickly navigate to the Q&As. And for those of you who have questions, please put them into the chat and I will address as many as possible. I think we have just over 15 minutes, so we will dive right in. All right. So then the question I have is, if you have started a linkage with a university in Germany but want to know the information regarding higher education that Fulbright offers, can you apply? Yes, you will want to talk about that particular linkage and emphasize that perhaps you want to build off of it or build more linkages within Germany, but they will want to know about your current level of engagement with that country. But again, you absolutely are eligible to apply. Great question. How do we get the link for the May 6th application walkthrough webinar? That is another great question, and let me pull up the website. Give me 1 second to share a new screen with you all. All right, so let me dive right in here. So all of the webinars will be listed under cis.org/IEA, and I'm going to put that in the chat to each of you so you can just grab it easily. But if you scroll down under this resource section, you click that, you can see all the upcoming webinars here. And so I'm just going to grab that quick link for you all and put it in this chat as well, because that is the next webinar coming up. So great question. All right, and I will also put the type answer within the Q&A box. Okay, I did not catch how many IEA awards there are for Germany. Great question. For that, this is where I really want to showcase the catalog of awards. The catalog of awards is awards.cis.org, putting that in the chat as well. And in here, you'll click Search All Awards. From here, and I apologize, it is small. I have a massive screen, but I know you all might be on laptops. But under here, you can filter by award type. And so here you can either filter by seminar and hit search, or under award type, you can select the Fulbright IEA award, and it will result in the same 4 awards. So for Germany, it is this award, and we'll just use this as an example so you can see what they look like. But for this particular award, you can see the deadline, and the number of recipients is 15. So to answer your question, up to 15 people will receive this award. Just so you all know, again, my name is Sarah Causer. I am listed under each of these under the IEA section for each country. My phone number and my email are listed here. We also have monthly office hours for IEA, and I will link you all to that, or I'll show you how to get to that in just a second. But I encourage you all to register for office hours. I believe it's the second Thursday of every month. So do please join me there. Otherwise, it's me sitting in a room, and I really enjoy interacting with you all. But they're open formats. You can have your camera on. You can unmute yourself and ask questions. The only thing we ask is that you just respect other people on the call and don't fully monopolize the entire call. But for the office hours, it's right here. And I'm putting that in the chat to you all as well. All right. The next question, are there Fulbright options for community college students? Unfortunately, there are not at this time. I dream of the day that there will be, but in order to be eligible for the Fulbright U.S. student program, they do need to have a bachelor's degree at the time of when the grant takes place. So unfortunately, that is the sad answer that I have for you all today. How long is the Germany time period? It is 2 weeks. Great question. And those dates will be finalized closer to the end of the year. So apologies there. If you receive one of these grants, are you no longer eligible for a scholar grant in 2 years? That is not true. You are eligible for the Scholar Awards at any time. Just keep in mind it's at that 2-year waiting period. So you can go on an IEA, wait 2 years, then you're eligible to apply for the Scholar Grant. So great question. For the case of Germany, do you currently have to work with sending students to Germany? Another great question. You do not. The requirement for all of these awards is that you just work within international education or have a connection to the internationalization of your campus. Within your application, you will want to specify why you're interested in Germany. So even if you don't currently work within that population, do strive to make justifications and reasons as to why you're applying, even if you're not currently working, again, sending students there or receiving students from there. Great question. We do have someone on the call that is a visiting scholar or visiting student, it looks like. Unfortunately, you are not eligible to participate in these programs. They are only open to U.S. citizens. If you're looking for a way to come to the United States, I highly encourage you to either look at the Fulbright Foreign Student Program or the Fulbright Visiting Scholar Program. But thank you for joining us today. We have a campus FPA on the call. Is that considered working towards international education? It is. It absolutely is. I will get with Laura Siri, who you should be familiar with. In the past, we have offered a webinar just for FPAs, so I'll work with her to get that one scheduled. We had a huge turnout last year with it, and I think it really helps for you to hear from other FPAs how they made the case for the IEAs. But you know what, Monica, thank you so much for asking that. We will get that in the books, but I hope to see you at that call as well, because I really think hearing from your colleagues who are also FPAs does help. But great question. Can I quickly go over the focus areas of the 3 programs and countries that are on hold? Yes, that is actually a really great question. Let me go navigate back to the PowerPoint real quick. And bear with me as I go very fast back through the PowerPoint. And thank you, Bethany, for asking this. It'd be remiss of me not to talk about this. So for the awards that we're not currently recruiting for, the first is India. India is very much looking for administrators, either who are boots on the ground working kind of daily with students, so your study abroad officers or your international student officers, or they're also looking for senior level administrators. Again, those are your deans, your provosts, your presidents, your directors. And what they're looking for are people with 5 years of experience within that field. So your role really should revolve around having that substantial responsibility for international relations and engagement on campus. Taiwan, however, is looking for study abroad advisors or senior level administrators again. They're really looking for people who might deal daily with students. And for this particular award, you only have to have 3 years of experience. Excuse me, my caffeine clearly has not kicked in. And then lastly, Japan is really looking for senior level administrators. However, they are also open to international education administrators, so study abroad international students. And again, you need 5 years of experience, but they're really looking to develop those partnerships and relationships and building off of it. All 3 are wonderful programs. And if you do have further questions, I'm happy to see if I can dig up old award overviews for those from the catalog and share them with you. Keep in mind, they could change every year. They don't change drastically, but if you are looking for some more details about those, I'm happy to share some more insight. But thank you so much for asking that question. We have about 9 minutes left, so I want to be cognizant of time. Does your previous travel experience or language experience count against you in the application, say for France? Great question. With this question, personal travel experience doesn't necessarily count against you, especially what they're looking for is extensive. Have you lived in that country for the last 5 of 6 years? Have you gone there every year and you've already developed these relationships? In those cases, that could count against you. But if it's just personal travel with family, that would not count against you. Language experience, same thing. If you have that language background, to me, that is only a positive because that means you can engage and greet your colleagues in country and really have that more fruitful opportunity. But asking that really is a good point, and I did not address this, but there is no language requirement. All seminars are conducted in English. So Kaylee, thank you for bringing that up, and apologies for all of you for missing that earlier. Do applicants need to have the responsibility related to the program location, i.e. applicants needing to work on programs in Germany? I believe we addressed this. You do not need to solely be working in one of those countries. It could be the justification that your institution is looking to expand and create these partnerships. That is a good enough reason to choose to apply. However, do develop that why have you chosen this particular country. That does need to be evident because that is probably the biggest pitfall I see in the review process. And I can talk about the review process if anyone has a question about that, but that tends to be the biggest pitfall is people not really making the case for why they've selected a country, that the reviewers feel that they could just pick up the application, drop it in another country pool, and it makes sense. That is not a good, compelling application. So do tie in why you've chosen the particular country. Okay, sorry, I'm going through these questions as fast as possible. Can I share the link to the Alumni Ambassador Program again? Absolutely. Give me 1 second to pull that up, and I will get that in the chat. All right. It is now shared with all of you. Oh, I really like this question, actually. Will a MENA location be added to the International Education Administrator Program? It has not been discussed yet, but I do hope one day we will. I will bring this up with the leaders that be, that there always is a strong interest for the MENA location or region, as well as the Western Hemisphere. My dream would be each world region would have an IEA to offer. One day we'll get there. To give you some insight, Taiwan is probably our newest IEA, and I want to say they're going into their 5th year. So new IEAs have developed. We used to have one to the UK. So it could be that we might have some new IEAs in the future, but I don't see it this year, and I've not heard anything about next year yet, but I will share that feedback. So thank you. Are there Fulbright opportunities for postdoctoral students that may not have administrator experience? Yes, there are opportunities for postdoctoral students within the scholar realm. Let's see if I can get back to that on the PowerPoint. As you can see here, about 4% of our awards, that little red piece of the pie, are set aside for postdoctoral awards. So that's anyone that's received their PhD or terminal degree in the last 5 years. So they can apply for those, and those awards will be listed in the catalog of award as well. So great question. Are you or other staff offering a webinar for any of the Fulbright Awards to bring a scholar to your campus or Fulbright teacher? Yes, last week I just had a webinar for the Scholar in Residence program. It's a general one. We have some more upcoming. I highly encourage you to listen to it. Let me grab the recording link and share that with you now. But if you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. Whoops. Hold on, I'm putting it in the chat. I closed out the question. Apologies there. But if you have questions on the Scholar in Residence program, please email me at sir@iie.org. For those of you who missed the first half of this webinar, it is being recorded and I will have it on the website usually within 5 business days. It goes live on the website, and since you've registered for this, you will receive an email once it is archived. So great question. Let's see. Does it matter if you are not the university Fulbright advisor or contact when applying to an IEA? Great question. You do not need to be a Fulbright liaison or a Fulbright FPA to be eligible for this award. Now, that being said, FPAs and liaisons are eligible, but you do not have to be one in order to be eligible. You simply must be an administrator who has substantial responsibility for internationalizing the dimensions of your campus. Can I talk about the application review process? Thank you for keeping me honest, because I said I would. Yes, I absolutely will talk about the review process. So once you submit, as you recall, each award had a different deadline, right? So once you submit, your application will be reviewed by myself, maybe some of my colleagues, for a technical review. What we're looking for is if you meant to apply for Korea, that you apply for Korea. If you meant to apply for Germany, that you actually put Germany. We want to make sure you're in the right bucket, right? Then we're going to make sure that all your documents are there, that you didn't accidentally upload your CV twice. So that's what we're checking for. From there, we release your applications to a review panel, and they traditionally are former IEAs to that country you have selected. They will review and either recommend or not recommend based on the criteria found on the website. I will put that criteria in this chat as well as I'm answering this question, because that is a great question to have. But access to our criteria, we want this as transparent as possible. So here you go. But that is how we are reviewing things. They make that suggestion. If you're recommended, your application then goes to in-country for final review and selection. We're not part of those processes. At any given time, all review notes are confidential and private, so we can't share those with you. However, let's say you're not selected. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. We can have a conversation to see maybe this isn't the right award for you, or maybe there's a certain area that you should develop more. I'm happy to have those conversations with you all. I know we have one question and I still have questions coming in. So for those of you who don't get their answer today, please email me at your convenience and I will get in touch with you. Can multiple people apply from the same institution? Absolutely. What I would suggest is at least diversifying which awards you apply to, because it is highly unlikely that multiple people will receive the same IEA to the same country in the same cycle. So for the 4 awards that we're recruiting for this year, I would encourage you to find someone to apply for each one from your institution. They do not cross-compare between the various countries. It's only reviewed within each country context. So great question. And I know we're at the 2:00 hour, and for those of you who have to leave, I understand. I'm going to finish. I think I have 3 more on this chat that I want to finish, and then I will close it up. But by the time the grant time comes, you'll be in your 3rd year of your administration position. Would that count as being eligible? I believe for Germany, you would have to wait till the following year because you should have those 3 years of experience at the application deadline. So February 1st of 2022, you should have the 3 years of experience. However, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, provide me your CV. I'll take it to the commission in Germany to see if they'd be open to your application. But there's nothing wrong with waiting an additional year. I mentioned that Korea was focused on stay abroad. If you work with students on a day-to-day work and work with students going abroad, but are not formally in the study abroad office, are you eligible? If you are working with those students on a day-to-day basis, maybe you're not in the study abroad office, but maybe you're in career services, you may be eligible. What I would ask, I believe, Emily, you asked this question, please reach out to me and I would be more than happy to talk to you one-on-one. And again, I'll share that with Korea. If you can send me your CV and kind of your background, we'll get a direct answer to that because I want to make sure, again, you're applying for the right award. And the last question that I have is for the Korea IEA. One page of the presentation indicates preference or eligibility goes to experienced admin for international students or study abroad. Then the second page indicates internationalization on home campus was preferred. Could you clarify? Was that in regards to this page, I hope? So what they are looking for people who are experienced administrators and that they do deal with students on a day-to-day basis. However, that role, that does fall into the internationalization of the home campus. So they're not mutually exclusive, if that helps clarify that question. You working to bring students to the U.S. or sending students from the U.S. to Korea is part of that internationalization. And so those should coincide with each other. So I hope that helps clarify that last question. But these are all great questions, and I apologize. We are 2 minutes over. I'm going to end on our last slide right here that, again, has my contact details. So if you do have any questions, do reach out to me at iea@iie.org. But I'm always happy to see such positive interest in this program, and I'm happy to work with all of you as you are crafting your applications. But I do hope to see your applications and work with you all. And again, I encourage you all to attend one of our upcoming office hours. It's the second Thursday of every month. But thank you all for coming today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care, everyone.